Hey guys, it's Holly. So today we'll be taking a really early look at the brand new LEGO Eternals sets, starting off with the Rise of the Domo, which is the largest set in the LEGO Eternals wave. So thank you very much to LEGO and Lan for sending me this early for review. I'm incredibly excited to take a look at this one. The two biggest Eternal sets were definitely my favorite. I love how unique the builds look, especially sort of the triangular shape of this ship. So this is set 76156 and has 6 of the Eternals characters in it, and at the time of filming this intro I have no clue what the official retail prices are going to be, so I will just plaster them on the screen right here. And all of the Eternals sets will be releasing on October 1st, which honestly quite surprised me, considering I've had this feeling that the Eternals was going to get delayed. So now that these sets are finally releasing, let's go have a look at it. So here is the set all built up, and straight up I can say that I'm a massive fan of the build of the Dorito ship. I also really like the builds for the Deviants, and the minifigure selection is incredibly diverse in terms of skin tone as well as gender. I'm a huge fan, so let's start off and look at them first. So first up we have Icarus, played by Richard Madden, and in terms of figure design, firstly with the Eternals, all of their torsos and leg prints look absolutely incredible. There is so much detail. I'm a huge fan, and for the most part, majority of them have reused faces and nothing special in terms of hairpiece, and there is no exception for Icarus. He uses the same head as Han Solo from the Solo film, as well as Cedric Diggory from the Harry Potter line, which here I think works really well and is a really nice reuse, especially considering I feel like they really wanted to play it safe and save money with these sets. The one thing that I'm not a huge fan of is the hair. I feel like the hairstyle works really well, but I would have loved to see it in a different color. I feel like this one doesn't quite match, and even better, I would have loved to see that sort of light gray stripe that's in his hair across the front. That would have been really sick. And then when you turn Icarus around, you have a more angry face, as well as some really nice back printing. Next up, we have Thena, and it's quite unfortunate that we didn't get a new hairpiece color for her, because I feel like the yellow just doesn't work quite well. I would have much preferred to see sort of a dark tan color and just make it look a bit more like natural blonde. One, for my sig fig, and two, I feel like it would just match this character a lot better. But even the hairstyle, I feel like doesn't quite work. I think it's a bit too short and also a bit too curly for Angelina Jolie's character, which is quite unfortunate. Again, I really love her torso and leg printing, though it would have been nice to see her have a skirt piece instead. I feel like this is just kind of a bit boring and again a bit safe, but her face print, even though it is the same face as Mantis and Bellatrix and Poison Ivy and Madame Rose Murta, I really like it in this case. I feel like it really matches Angelina Jolie, and even just the facial expressions I feel like really work for this character. You've got one that's angry that looks like she's trying to fight, and then you've got one that just sort of looks regular, and on the back as well you'll see the really nice back detailing there. Overall, I'm just a really big fan of the figure. Though I do have to admit, I can see why they did go for the yellow version of this hair rather than recoloring it, because if they recolored it, maybe it would be a bit too close to her outfit, which is a shame, but I can see why, but Next up, we have Cersei, and honestly, I feel like in terms of just figure design, I feel like she's one of the weakest in my opinion. Again, I really love the torso and the leg print. There is nothing wrong with that. The detailing looks insane. I think the face print works really well as well, even though it's the same as Tina and Katie from Shang-Chi. My issue here is the hair. I can see why they did it. I mean, it's black. It's still got the same length as Cersei in sort of the promo images and all that, but I personally feel like she would have benefited from having a black half up, half down hairstyle, and I think the only reason they didn't do that is because Katie from Shang-Chi has that hairstyle and she would have the exact same face. So I feel like to mix it up within the franchise, they've given her a different one, which personally I think this hair would have worked better for Katie and sort of had it the other way around, but that's nothing that I can't fix myself. When you turn her around as well, you can see she's got a quite angry face and some really nice back printing. Next up, we have Makari, and overall, I feel like she has to be one of my favorites in terms of just minifigure design. I'm a huge fan of this hairpiece. I think it looks absolutely fantastic. I love the braided details. I love the overall design. I think it works incredibly well. I really love that piece. I also really love the reuse of the MJ sort of Michelle Jones, also Amber Grant face. I think it works really well. Like I said, there's a lot of reused faces in this, but I think it matches really nicely. I really as well love the color tones and just the detail in her outfit. She's definitely got to be one of my favorites. You can also see her back printing really clearly because of her headpiece, and then when you swap it around, you can see that she's got quite an angry sort of face. Again, I'm a really big fan of this minifigure design. It's just a shame that we really didn't see that much of her in the trailer. Now, these last two minifigures are exclusive to this set, and I'm going to completely butcher their names, and I apologize in advance. So this first one, I'm pretty sure is gonna be pronounced Durig or Drig, or I really don't know, but we're just gonna call him Durig for the sake of argument. And again, he has a reused face. This time it's the same one as Shang-Chi, as well as Draco Malfoy and Happy Hogan, and has the good old dark brown Mutt Williams hairpiece, which from memory, I'm pretty sure his head and hair look exactly like Happy Hogan, which is a shame. I really wish that Happy Hogan had a unique face, because I think for this character in particular, just based off what I've seen in the promotional images in the trailer, I think it works really well. His outfit has some really nice detailing, but I feel like compared to the rest, because of the fact that it is black, it just looks a bit more boring, although it does have a really nice metallic sheen to it as you turn him around. And then spinning him around some more, there's some really nice back printing, again with that metallic sort of gunmetal sheen, and then he's got an even angrier alternate face. And lastly, we have Fastos, who is all decked out in purple, and I really like the design of this figure. I love the torso print. Again, I really love the leg print, and from my knowledge, this is a brand new face print. I personally don't recognize it. If I figure out that it is a duplicate, I will insert a photo of the character here, but otherwise, again, he looks really, really nice, and he has that sort of typical, sort of really tightly curled hairpiece in black, which looks really slick, and his alternate face is incredibly angry looking, and he has some really nice back printing. I feel like it's so simple, but really effective, and I love the metallic gold as well on his outfit. I just think it makes him look really, really nice. Now, one thing I really appreciate about the Eternal sets in general is that every single one of them has a Deviant, even though in some sets I feel like they're out of place. In this set, you get two of them, and it really works quite nicely because it means all of the characters can sort of hop off the spaceship and go and fight them. And starting off, we have this sort of really lanky, almost a character one. I feel like the rest of them all sort of look like beasts, whereas this guy, he has some sort of head, which is a brand new specially molded piece, which has a really nice print to it. You can see in sort of alien fashion, he's got 4 eyeballs, some really sharp teeth, and even some nice cheekbones, which are all sort of specially molded in there. You can sort of see the gap here, and that just attaches to the body using a sort of red Technic axle rod. His feet at the bottom are pretty bulky, which is good, so that it means you can sort of stand him up pretty well and even pose him, and there's enough sort of surface area in order for him to remain standing. On the front of his sort of shins, you've got these really nice stickers, which are exactly the same. You've also got some of these really nice pearlescent sort of, I want to say like animal body part pieces that pop up quite a lot in these sets actually, and they look really nice and sort of tied in with the rest of the Deviants. He's got quite skinny sort of legs when you sort of come up, and then moving on up, you've got some of the mixers joints, as well as some sort of bare bone, annoying like just studs exposed, which is frustrating. I really wish it was a bit more tiled off considering how smooth the bottom of his feet look, but you've got some more of these sort of like plant pieces and horns and all of that to decorate. Then again, you move up and you sort of get to this really skinny body, which is a bit unfortunate. And on the sides, there's some clip pieces. I'm not too sure why there's nothing to clip to them. On the back, again, he's incredibly smooth, using that same sort of color scheme that you'll see throughout all of the Deviants in this wave. And then the arms again are just using some mixels joints, with his sort of bicep looking quite skinny and his hand looking sort of thick, honestly, considering they've sort of bulked it out. He's given him 4 fingers as well, which is really nicely built. And then on his other side, he's got this really long sort of like tentacly arm, which I personally really like. I think it looks really good. Again, his bicep is quite small, although this time sort of having more of those sort of cone pieces. And then they've got 2 stickers on his sort of forearm there, which I really, really like. But the big thing for this one, besides like all of the stickers, which again feature on his chest, is that specialty molded head. There's a lot of mobility with this figure in the sort of shoulder joint, the elbow joint, the leg, the knee. There's just a lot to move around, which means you can pose him quite nicely, which I can't say the same for some of the other Deviants in this wave. But not only do you get him, you get this sort of more beast looking thing, which again, I really like the design of for this one. A common theme in the sort of Lego animals seems to be really skinny feet, and this build is no exception with these tiny little like foot attachments here, though admittedly because of the way it's built, it is incredibly well balanced, and same with the back, it's just very, very skinny as you sort of get to the end. But again, you can pose it using these ball joints on the arms. There's no mobility at the elbows this time around, and unfortunately it's sort of a bit harder to get him in a running position. You've sort of really got to balance it because of the sort of skinniness of the foot at the back, but it is possible. As you can sort of see here, it looks like he's doing some sort of yoga. His tail has got one of those really nice sort of slick looking, I want to call them animal like horn pieces, which looks really sick. On the sides as well, you can see those like pearlescent sort of translucent ones. Same with the top, which sort of creates this little fur look, which I love the look of that. All of these little pieces just add so much sort of detail and depth onto this character. There's also some empty sort of hinge pieces here, which is kind of frustrating, and there's this nice teal sort of slope piece on the back, which personally I wish there was a sticker here, considering you've got a really nice sort of dark red sticker on the front here, not to mention the face, as well as these printed eye pieces, which look really slick. Then at the bottom, they sort of have these hinge pieces in order to replicate a mouth, which personally I don't think quite works, but it'll do. But overall, with the two of them, it gives you a lot to sort of play with and even pose with, especially with this more lanky looking Deviant. And I'm glad that they did include sort of two monsters for them to fight, because otherwise I feel like without it, it wouldn't really make the set as sort of interesting to me. But then again, you're not buying the set for the two Deviants, you are buying it for the ship. And a lovely spaceship this thing is. I really like the design of this Dorito ship, and when it appeared in the trailer after seeing the sets, I genuinely got really excited because I loved the design of it, and I was already looking forward to this set because of the ship's design. So to see it sort of pop up in that trailer, even though the film hasn't come out, made me really, really excited. My favorite thing about this just has to be the exterior. I really personally don't really mind too much about the interior, although it is decorated really nicely. It's all of these sort of pearlescent purpley like dish pieces here, as well as the tiles, even the giant printed dishes here, even the stickers. I love the color scheme of it. I think it looks really cool, really mystical, and it's a nice take on sort of the plain basic gray spaceship that we typically see from Marvel and Star Wars and things like that. The build of this spaceship is also really interesting too, and I had a lot of fun doing it. You can sort of see how it all works using a bunch of these hinge pieces as well as wedge pieces. It's really well constructed, although it was a tiny bit flimsy when I was building this. Majority of it was built outside, and I was doing it on grass, so admittedly if it was on a table I feel like it would have been a bit easier, but I really enjoyed constructing this. I was really creative. Before we look at the inside, I want to sort of have a close look on the outside, starting off with these purple pieces. These look incredible. I love the pearlescent glow of them, and there are 3 of them in this set, and they just attach onto the side here using stud knot on top, which I really like. You've also got that same colored piece in a tile here. You've got some stickered tiles and some more of that. You can also see that there's a few sort of gaps on the inside in order to sort of open this ship up, but even then it's decorated with just more of those pieces, as well as some blue. On 2 of the corners as well, you have these door pieces in order to sort of make that triangular point, which I thought was really cool, and you sort of turn it around. There's some more tiles here, some more of those speckly purple, another door, another dish piece. Basically the sides are pretty much exactly the same, and then at the front you've got this weird looking panel piece which is a bit blunt, which sort of makes the peak of the ship. Now looking at the top of the ship, as you can see, there is a lot of texture and detail, which I really like. Not all of it is smoothed off, which honestly I quite appreciate here, and I think it works for this set. Now there's also a lot of different shapes. You've got a lot of circles, which I think really adds to the ship, not just like the ship's design in general from the movie, you know, being a triangle, and then you've sort of got the opposite of everything else on it being really round and cylindrical, but it also just makes for a really interesting build. So you've got these 3 giant printed plates in each of the corners, and then on the top you've got a round stickered piece. So all of these 4x4 circles, they are all stickered, which is unfortunate, but luckily you don't have to worry about these giant ones. There's also a bunch of of curved pieces, that being some that are 2x2 wide, you've got some that are 4x4 wide, and you've even got these really nice metallic silver ones on the center here, as well as the sides, which have an incredible sheen, and again, it just makes the color scheme of this ship really pop. You'll also see that there are 2 stud shooters on the top, both of which have 2 transparent sort of neon yellow studs attached to it, and all 3 of these circles as well can actually open up and sort of expose the inside of the ship. So for me personally, I find the way the ship opens up really interesting. So firstly, like I sort of showed you, you've got all of these cylindrical pieces that can hinge up. This one reveals the cockpit, and these other 2 just sort of give you a bit more of an insight into the corners of the ship. Then from here, you can unfold these 2 side panels, which unfold open like that, and then you can sort of continue it over, opening up that very sort of top flap, which on the inside have some weapons attached to them. Then alongside that, you have the main console itself, which can just completely hinge open like that and sort of gives you a roof to the ship, and that way you can actually access every single area of it, which I think is really smart and really well done and offers for a lot of playability in this set. Now for me personally, I display a lot of my sets, so I don't really care about the interior, but I know I would have loved this as a kid, as it means I can fit all of the Eternals in there. Yes, all of the Eternals in here, and still sort of have a bit of room to play around with. So starting off, we have the cockpit, which is the hardest sort of section to get into, but as you'll see, there is space to put a figure with these gunmetal sort of pieces on the sides, which can adjust up and down. They're not really in a fixed position. I guess there's sort of a reason behind that in the film, but when you lift it up, you can actually see that there's some sticker details along the side here. If I sort of shine a light in there, you can see all of that patterning, as well as the patterning on sort of the base, and this really nice printed tile there with a bunch of sort of green beacon points and things like that. On the left hand side, you have this like transparent orange staff thingy attached to the wall, which I actually quite like how all of the weapons can sort of fold up like that, because especially in this set, none of the Eternals actually come with any of their accessories as you build it along. Heading into this back corner, and there's really not that much going on in here. There's not even really space to sit. I mean, you can fold a minifigure up and sort of stick them in this tiled off area, but otherwise it's not that great. You've also got one of these really nice brand new flame molded hand pieces, which are actually sort of the representation of one of the Eternals' powers, which I really, really like. It is unfortunate though, since they're supposed to have 2, and in this set you only get the 1, but it's a really nice inclusion either way, and that one just sticks on this 2x2 jumper. On the right hand side, there's a tiny bit more going on. You have some more of the weapons on the wall, which again, I really like, but you've also got this little section which has a ton of like minifigure accessories and references. Starting off, you've got this red coffee machine, which I personally really like the build of. I think it's absolutely adorable and a really neat inclusion here. Then heading to the back, you've got a bit more, starting off with this yellow seat, which behind it houses a black umbrella. You've also got a red wrench, 2 microphones, which honestly give me Shang-Chi vibes of Katie and Sean actually doing karaoke, which I thought was quite fun. And then when you rotate it around to this other side, you've sort of got a black metal detector and a white video game controller. But I personally feel the most interesting part about the interior of the ship is this center console, which on the floor has a bunch of those stickered pieces. This time the stickers are dark gray, but they are sitting on light bluish gray tiles, which is alright, and it also gives you a lot of studs to stand minifigures on, but still has that really nice sort of clean, tiled off look. It sort of gives you a hallway too, which I quite like, although in my head as well, it sort of acts as seats for all 6 of the Eternals to actually sit down on the ship, which I'll show you later. On the back wall, you have this really nice sort of golden display that hangs up on the wall. It's got a little lamp here hanging off the top with one of those sort of telescopy pieces. You've also got a bunch of those golden rings from Ninjago and one of those nice sort of pipe pieces heading through them, which I really like the build and design of this. I'm not too sure what this is actually supposed to represent at the moment, but either way, I really like the build, and it is quite simple, although it does mean that there's quite a lot of space ruined once you actually sort of close up the ship. As you can see, it sort of folds down right in the center there. Heading over to the other side, and you have this micro build of a Celestial, which I absolutely love. It is so simple yet so effective. And then on the front of it, you've got attached this white micro figure, which I imagine this is so that the Eternals can sort of see their target, know who they're fighting, and I think it looks really cute, especially when you compare it to the actual build of the Celestial, even though the color scheme's not 100% right, since all of these pieces are in red and not dark red, but I am glad that they did the dark red for the arms. Now, like I said, this ship can fit all of the Eternals, and I mean it, all 10 of them will fit in here. You can have one of them in the cockpit. Personally, how I've done it is I've sort of sat 6 of them in like the little hallway. They all attached by 2 studs on the back of their legs, so not on completely securely. You've got one in the chair over there. I sort of put the little one right there, and then just one sitting down there. You can obviously sort of sort this out however you want, but it's really glad to see that with a playset ship, especially one of this size, you can actually fit all 10 heroes in here. The only problem is, in order to get all 10 heroes, you have to buy all 4 sets. So that is the Eternals Rise of the Domo set, and I personally really like this. I really loved the build and just the overall design of the spaceship, the Dorito ship. Really like it. Also, the fact that you get 2 unique, really well-built deviants is a really good thing, I think. You can really create a nice display scene. You can also play with this really well. The Eternals have someone to fight. They also can go and attack it in their spaceship. I think from both points of view, it works really well. I think for the price point, it's a tiny bit of a stretch because of sort of how much of that piece count is taken up by the ship and having an interior. I feel like that sort of makes it just a tiny bit too much, but even then, I don't think it's ridiculously overpriced. The only downside for me is that 4 of the minifigures appear in other sets, and I mean, I feel like this is just a problem with the Eternal sets in general, is that you need to buy all of them to have all the Eternals. But anyway, guys, if you enjoyed the video, please give me a thumbs up and consider subscribing to my channel down below to check out the rest of my Eternals videos as they come out. And until next time, guys, I'll see you later.